Okay, community, I'm very sorry for our interlude. We lost visual to all of you, and we do apologise for that. We hopefully have rectified the problem, and we're back on track again. So we'll now go back to 9.2.2 community grants funding, which was seconded by Councillor Horrigan and seconded by Councillor Binks. Councillor Horrigan, would you like to speak on the motion, please?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I would like to speak on the motion. I would like to congratulate all the community organisations that applied for the community grants program and were successful. I'd like to thank you all for putting in an application, and congratulations, of course. I'd also like to put out there that because there is money left over, as per Amanda Tingay advised, there will be more grant opportunities which will open on the 1st of October 2021. So if you are looking to apply for the community grants application, please make sure that you keep your eye out for this date. If you're not receiving communication about community grants programs, please get in contact with the Shire to ensure that you are signed up to the email list. Please also jump onto our Facebook page, Strathbogie Shire Council, just to keep into the loop of when these grants are opening and what the guidelines are. And if you do require help with the grant guidelines, please get in contact with the council so that they can better direct you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Horrigan. Councillor Binks.
Thank you, Mayor. I also would like to congratulate everyone that has applied, and just to reiterate what was said earlier and might have been missed in our brief interlude, that the second round will open on the 1st of October and close on the 31st, and we look forward welcoming some more and grant applications from more members and of organisations in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Any other council like to speak? If not, I'd like to put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Declare it carried. Okay, the next item is on page 25, 9.2.3, Mangalore Pilot Training Advocacy.
Thank you, Mayor Rayburn. This report seeks for Council to provide further advocacy on behalf of Moorabbin Aviation Services through writing to state and
point of order, we're missing one councillor here.
Sorry.
Mayor?
Apologies. I do apologise. We're just waiting for Councillor Haysberg to come back into the meeting. I do apologise for going forward without Councillor. Okay, sorry about that, Councillor Haysberg. Right, back to you, Director Tingay.
Thank you, Mayor Rayburn. For Councillor Hayes' benefit, I'll start from the start. This report seeks for Council to provide further advocacy on behalf of the Moorabbin Aviation Services through writing to state and federal members of Parliament, requesting their urgent review, consideration and approval of the Moorabbin Aviation Services proposal for the sustainable continuation of the Mangalore Pilot Training Program. The Moorabbin Aviation Services undertakes the training program at the Mangalore Airport. Due to COVID-19, the majority of students that come from China, one of their major clients is China Southern Airlines, have been unable to come to Australia. Essentially, before COVID-19, there were usually around 140 students at this facility. However, because of COVID, that number is steadily diminishing as COVID continues across the globe. Moorabbin Aviation Services have put forward a proposal to the government for their consideration. However, there is more further work that needs to be done in terms of advocacy. Essentially, the Mangalore Airport facility would look to be a quarantine bubble where students could stay for their quarantine period and then safely continue living within the Mangalore community and also continuing their pilot training. It is estimated that the aviation industry through this proposal is generating jobs and an economic contribution of approximately $200,000 per student. There is a recommendation on page 26 of the agenda for Council's consideration. Thank you, Mayor Rayburn.
Thank you, Director Tingay. Councillor Oz, does a councillor like to move a motion and state their motion, please? Councillor Binks, your motion is?
Thank you, Mayor Rayburn. I would like to move the motion that we follow the recommendation on page 26 of our agenda, as stated by the officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Is there a seconder? Councillor Murray. Councillor Binks, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor Rayburn. Yes, I would like to. I strongly recommend this recommendation. It's obviously our whole region has been pretty hard hit in the last 18 months with the COVID pandemic, and having seen the plan that the Moorabbin school have put together at Mangalore. It's a double M one, that one, but they have a really safe, COVID safe plan, and we were able to see that, and I think it's a really great way to be able to continue our economic, I guess, it's not really growth, it's sort of just maintaining what we were beforehand, but it's really vital that we support these kind of industries to continue doing the work that they are doing so that we can continue helping them to be viable businesses in our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to support the Mangalore Airport in welcoming back some of the international students to this training program. Council officers have examined the site, and it's a very secure bubble. It is worth some considerable economic benefit to the community, and I support the continuation of this service in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'd like to put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Declare it carried. Thank you. The next item is on page 30, 9.2.4, Events Policy, Director Tingay.
Thank you, Mayor Rayburn. Strathbogie Shire Council plans, manages, supports and delivers a range of events, functions and festivals throughout our municipality, held in council facilities and on council land. The purpose of this policy is essentially to provide community and council staff with clarity and direction in regards to understanding council objectives and approach with the delivery and support of events within our Shire. Recently, there was an internal audit undertaken of our events area, and developing an events policy was one of the recommendations that came out of the audit. There is a recommendation on page 30 of the agenda for Council's consideration. Sorry, I just lost my page number there for a second. And that's essentially that Council adopt the events policy in line with the internal audit recommendations. There's also been a considerable amount of work in benchmarking as well in the development of this policy. So a recommendation for Council's consideration. Thank you, Mayor Rayburn.
Thank you, Director Tingay. Councillor Oz, would someone like to move a motion and state their motion, please? Councillor Murray, your motion is, thank you. Off mute, please, Paul.
I'd like to move a motion that we adopt the recommendation listed on page 30 of the agenda in relation to the events policy for the Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Is there a seconder? Councillor Binks. Councillor Murray, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say that the events in the Shire are a significant component of our tourism and arts and culture area, and they need support and encouragement wherever we can give them. They have gone through a considerable downturn in the last year and a half, 18 months, due to the COVID situation. And as a result of some recent events, we have undertaken a review of our events policy and come up with a revamped and realigned way of assisting events programs within the Shire. And I commend it to all the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Binks.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I think this is a really great policy to be adopting, and just sort of to support all of our organisations and any people that are applying for grants, that we have a framework around the process and make it a really clear and easy to follow and understand process. We'll be reviewing it in August 2022 next year, so there'll be an opportunity to, whilst there was a lot of research and discussion and benchmarking against other councils' event policies, we'll be able to test this one and see where we might be able to make improvements to make it an even better policy to ensure that we have ongoing and successful events in our Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Horrigan. You're on mute, Christy.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I would also just like to add that this is a great recommendation that came out of the internal audit report, which internal audit reports are very important, and an events policy like this is great for both council and for people organising events. I'd also like to note that I have requested a little bit more action and accountability from both sides with specific timelines when you're applying for an event, and this will be in the event management framework. So although it's not in this particular policy, there will be one that will come behind it, just to really hold ourselves, accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horrigan. Any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Okay, the next one is on page 45, 9.4.1, Culture and Recreational Land Rate Concession. Director Roth.
Through you, Mayor. So back in March 2020, the Tungarong Land and Waters Council acquired some land, which, as the report indicates, is a steep rocky outcrop, has no agricultural capacity and has some cultural significance. So the Tungarong requested council consider a rate concession. Now, under the Cultural and Recreation Lands Act, council is able to do that. We took legal advice to confirm that. So the requirements for the waiving of the rates has been satisfied. So we're recommending as per the recommendation.
Thank you very much, Director Roth. Councillors, does a councillor like to move a motion, thanks, and state their motion? Councillor Hayes-Burke, your motion is.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move the motion on page 45 of the agenda, as per the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Is there a seconder? Councillor Binks. Councillor Hayes-Burke, would you like to speak?
I'd like to say that, I'm very happy to move this recommendation to grant a rate concession to Tungarong Land Waters Council for this land that's obviously of important significance to them. And I think that TWC, they're more than within their rights to apply for this concession. It's not only allowed in the legislation, as Director Roth stated, But as far as I'm concerned, this land was taken from Taungurung people to begin with. So I'm happy that we can provide this concession.
Thank you, Councillor Haysbert. Councillor Binks.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to second Councillor Haysbert's comments and thank Director Roth and staff for following up on this and getting the appropriate advice to be able to put this recommendation to us.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declare it carried. Thank you. Okay, next one's on page 48, 9.4.2, Strathbogie Shire Council's Audit and Risk Committee, unconfirmed minutes of meeting held on the 9th of July 2021. Director Ralph.
Through you, Mayor. So the Audit Committee, these are the minutes of the 9th of July. A couple of features are that we had 2 new community representatives on the committee. And Mr. Mark Freudenstein was elected chairman and subsequently confirmed by council. We discussed the internal audit program, which included the events audit, which has been discussed in the previous item. Also the audit strategy for the end of year, which is currently going through its movements, and an update on the budget preparation. So the minutes are there for council to consider.
Thank you, Director Roth. Is there a council like to move the is there a council like to move a motion and state their motion, please? Councillor Haysbert, your motion is?
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to move the recommendation on page 48 of the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Haysbert. Is there a seconder? Councillor Horrigan. Councillor Haysbert, would you like to speak?
No, that's okay. Thanks.
Councillor Horrigan, would you like to speak?
I will. Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you, Mark, and congratulations for being on the chair. And also thank you to the new members that are part of the Risk and Audit Committee. It is, it's a very important job. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak? I'd just like to say congratulations to Mark and to Paul and Alistair for Mark becoming president, chairperson of our Audit and Risk Committee, and to Paul and Alistair for becoming our community representatives. It's great to see that we had to have interviews to get these new people on our Audit and Risk Committee, because I've been told that over the last couple of years we've been looking to people to put up their hands, and this is great that we had to have an interview to get people onto it, and I look forward to their diligence and their understanding of how a council operates and looking after us behind the scenes to ensure that we have got a good risk and audit committee. So all those in favour? All those against? Declare it carried. Thank you. All right, page 67, 9.4.3, contracts awarded under delegation. Director Tingay.
Through you, Mayor. Director Roth's got this meeting.
Okay, Director Roth, do apologise.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is just to ratify the contracts awarded under delegation. Of interest, obviously, to the community is the new website, but also you'll notice that we've had a number of contracts for the Violet Town landfill. So we have a requirement to do ongoing monitoring of the landfill, auditing of the financial provisions that we've put away, and importantly, contract 2021-06 is for the actual design of the landfill and costing. So that will then enable us to go to tender and complete the rehabilitation of the landfill. So the recommendations there for council.
Thank you, Director Roth. Councillor, would someone like to move a motion and state their motion, please? Councillor Binks. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move the motion that we adopt the recommendation on page 67 of the agenda papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Is there a seconder? Councillor Horrigan. Councillor Binks, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor Rayburn. Yes, I would like to. Well, it is the most exciting one, I'm afraid. I mean, the tip has been when we came on to council. Oh, you thought I was going to say the website, wasn't you? But it's a tip. When we came onto council, we were handballed this tip as a thing that had been handballed from council to council to council, and it became really apparent that action needed to be taken pretty soon on this. Otherwise, it was going to become a bigger than sort of Ben-Hur kind of challenge for council. So it's really exciting that this is progressing, and that we're coming to a point where we'll be able to go out for tender. And yes, I am also excited about the new website. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Biggs. Councillor Horrigan.
Thanks, Chris. Yes, I am excited about the website. I love tech things. The website's really important. So we as a council have had a lot of feedback from the community that they just can't find things on the current website. Forms are hard to fill out. We're going back to the old, paper and pen instead of digital, where you can just log online and submit it. So it also works really well, and I'm sure it will be part of the climate change action plan. So I'm very excited about that. I'm also excited about the tip, and I agree with Laura Binks, but yes, it's good news for the website.
Thank you, Councillor Horrigan. Any other councillor like to speak? If not, all those in favour? Against, declare it carried. Thank you. Okay, page 71, 9.5.1, a business management system, CEO Solomon.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. This month, it just gives us an overview of how our monthly business statistics, so that the community and councillors can track progress. Just like to highlight that officers continue to focus on addressing customer service, and we are diligently working through that process. This month, we also saw an increase in emergency call-outs, and this was associated and road management requests associated with the impacts of some high rainfall that we experienced over the past month and some of those wind and storm events. We also had quite a number of waste management requests, which were primarily due to missed bins or damaged bins or lids, which all needed to be addressed by our contractor and were done so in accordance with our contract. We also saw an increase in calls to our planning area, and that's associated with the high number of planning applications that we're currently experiencing at the moment. And officers will continue to diligently focus on delivering high standards of customer service in accordance with our customer service charter, and we continually monitor that on a weekly basis at an executive team level. So councillors, for your information, and there is a recommendation on page 72 of the report of the agenda for your consideration for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Solomon. Councillors, does the council like to move a motion and state it, please? Councillor Binks, your motion is?
Thank you, Mayor Rayburn. I'd like to move the motion that we note the recommendation that the report is noted on page 72 of our agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Is there a seconder? Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Binks, would you like to speak?
I would just like to extend my thanks to all the staff. I know it's been a challenging time flying sort of in and out of lockdown, and in winter with the increase in our calls for storm damage and other things. And I think they're doing a really great job, and I commend them on their continued efforts to have prompt answers and solutions to our residents. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Councillor Dickinson, would you like to speak?
I'll endorse those remarks made by Councillor Binks. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Horrigan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. And thank you, Julie. And you can see the request through the report, especially based on last month, that it has actually gone high in regards to roads, etc. Do want to call out to the community that although I try to stay up to date with the community notice boards, if you have a road, I know there was a particular video. If you have a road, could you please email the council? And if you are and you're feeling that you're not getting the response, could you please make sure you put in any councillor that you feel confident with? Our email addresses are on the website and they are really easy to find. You can just click who is your council. Because although I try to share your videos with Strathbogie Shire on Facebook, it's not actually lodged. So if you can do that, and I've noticed also with animal control lately, there's been a lot on social media. Please reach out, let us know so that we can help you. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor Horrigan. Any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against, declare it carried. Okay. CEO Solomon, is there any notice of motion?
Through you, Mayor, no, there are no notices of motion on tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Is there any notices of recession?
Through you, Mayor, there are no notices of recession either. Thank you.
There is one item of urgent business tonight, our community. I'd like to, it's sad to say, but I have to let you know that Councillor Deputy Mayor Melanie Lykos has resigned as a councillor from the Shire of Strathbogie. It's been quite a trying period in the last couple of months for Councillor Lykos due to family issues, and it's finally got to the point where she believes she's not giving the community the full attention she'd like to, and so she's had to resign. And we spoke to her this afternoon. It was very sad to say goodbye, but as she said, she would rather have someone there representing her community at the moment while she's going through her family issues. So we'd like just to say thank you to her service. I know it's only been a short service, but she's given us a bit of fun, a bit of represented the Gambie ward, Lake Ngambie ward, and has been there to try and help us all get through the trying times of COVID and all the other issues we've been dealing with over the last 9-10 months. So I'd just like to let the community know that. Any other councillor like to say anything while on this? Councillor Horrigan.
Through you, Mayor, I just want to thank Deputy Melanie Lykos for everything that she has done since being elected on November 17th. She's certainly going to be missed by me, and I know that she's going to be missed by her community. And I'd like to call out again to the community to please be kind in times like this, and it's just really sad. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horrigan. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to echo those comments that Christy made. I'd like to say that I consider Councillor Lykos to have been a real asset to council and an asset to the community of Ngambie as well. Her time and energy and enthusiasm I have been very impressed with over her period with us. And her willingness to take on the deputy mayor position, I think, is a real credit to her as an individual to take on that responsibility. And she will be sorely missed by this council, and I believe by the broader community in Ngambie. But so I wish her luck, and I wish her all the best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And I've been advised by the governance manager that I should have asked for a motion on receiving Councillor Melanie Lykos, Deputy Mayor's resignation. So would someone like to move a motion to accept Deputy Mayor Lykos's resignation?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the recommendation is actually on page 92, just to note the resignation and to note that we need to inform the Minister for Local Government and the Victoria Electoral Commission. Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Executive Manager of Governance, I failed again. So, councillors, there is a motion on page 92. Would someone like to move it and speak to it? Councillor Dickinson, seconded by Councillor Hayes-Burke. Councillor Dickinson.
Yes, I'd like to move the motion as worded on page 92 to accept Deputy Mayor Lykos's resignation.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Haysbert.
Oh yeah, I just am seconding the motion, and yeah, I wish Melanie all the best, and I'm sorry to see her go. She was a real asset to the community and still is, and I'm sure she'll be still there in the background keeping us in check. So
That's okay. All right. Any other? So we've had all councillors speak. Or Councillor Binks, do you want to speak?
Thank you, Mayor Rayburn. I'd just also like to wish Melanie all the best and to let her know that we are all here to support her as well in this difficult time, and yeah, thank her for her incredible service.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Dickinson.
I just wanted to speak in favour of the motion, actually.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss the company of Mel. Miss her singing. We used to have competitions driving to and from Nagambie, naming songs, naming artists, singing songs. Always took a lot of boredom out of the drive home or the drive to, and always gave us both an opportunity to unload and compare notes, discuss issues within our community, and she was very easy to work with, and I wish her all the best.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. All right, put the motion. All those in favour? Declare it carried. Thank you. And it's sad to see her go. Okay, the next item is on page 95, number 13, urgent confidential business. There's a motion printed on page 95 that council, in accordance with section 66-2-A, definition for confidential matters, part 1, section 3 of the Local Government Act 2020, the Act, resolved to close the meeting to members of the public for a purpose of considering an item relating to. So, councillors, would someone like to move that, please? Councillor Murray, Councillor, is there a seconder? Councillor Hayes-Burke. Put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Sorry, our community, we have to go into confidential business, so we'll be off the screen for a little while we go into confidential business, and then we'll be back to close the meeting. So thank you.